Welcome to the PR Maven Podcast, a podcast all about growing your network and building your brand through traditional and digital networking techniques. I'm Nancy Marshall, the PR Maven and CEO of Marshall Communications. I've been strengthening brands through PR for over 35 years, and now I'm celebrating the success of executives, influencers, business owners, and entrepreneurs from all around the world, all of whom have cultivated their brands and broadened their networks through traditional and digital networking methods. Each week, I interview one of these interesting and influential individuals and provide an opportunity for you, the PR Maven Nation, to gain insights from their strategies and stories. So stay tuned for this week's episode, and thanks for listening. Hello, PR Maven Nation. Welcome to the PR Maven Podcast, episode number 159, presented by Marshall Communications, creator of the Marshall Plan 65-Step Strategic Process. For those of you who are new to the show, I'm your host, Nancy Marshall, the PR Maven and CEO of Marshall Communications. I want to welcome you. And with me today, my guest is Rocky Lalvani, who's Chief Profitability Officer at Profit Comes First. Welcome to the PR Maven Podcast, Rocky.
Thank you so much for having me here today, Nancy. Excited to be with you.
I'm excited to have you too, Rocky. We've been working together now for several months, and I did your online course, and I was on your podcast. Thank you very much. So it's nice to have you here on mine too. So Rocky Lalvani was shocked to learn that most business owners don't look at their financial reports. When he realized how much of a problem this was, he knew his purpose was to help business owners become profitable. Rocky serves as Chief Profitability Advisor for business owners. He teaches them how to ensure they get paid and how to make profit a priority. As a certified Profit First professional, he implements Mike Michalowicz's Profit First system. Rocky started with nothing when his parents immigrated to the United States when he was just 2 years old, just a few years ago. It was his parents' second time starting over in life as they moved here to experience the American dream. And in spite of struggles and his mom passing away when Rocky was only 7, he has been able to achieve financial and life success. And Rocky loves to share his journey and inspire others to achieve their dreams even faster. And I have been listening to Rocky's podcast, and I find him to be very inspirational myself. And he has sort of a holistic view. He's not just a number cruncher, but he has a holistic view about life, which I find really refreshing. So Rocky, congratulations on a career that seems to suit your skills and personality perfectly. How did you get into your career in the first place?
So this was a really long journey of being in the wrong place, doing the wrong things for most of my life. I wasn't doing this. I had all these skills, and I knew that they were valuable, but I didn't know how to find the right fit for them and make that connection into the marketplace. And so that kind of went on for a long time where I was dabbling around the sides in trying to figure out, how do I really do this? And probably about 7, 8 years ago, I went through kind of a self-development journey. And as part of that, it was like, hey, you've built your wealth, you're doing this, but what do you really want to do? And how do you really want to help people? And a big part of that was in the financial space. Like, I would look around and I'm like, I don't understand why there's not more millionaires in the United States. I don't understand why people struggle with money. And part of that was my upbringing. We had conversations about money at home. Like, even with my parents' friends, as they were trying to figure out the American dream, they would have open and honest conversations about money, and it wasn't taboo. People shared their salary. They, if you bought something, the first question was, well, how much did you pay? Did you get a discount? How did you do this? I just didn't realize everyone else didn't do that. And so I realized I could help people with money, but then I realized there was a second problem. In America, if I tell you, I will teach you to be a millionaire in 10 years, nobody will buy that. If I tell you I will teach you to be a millionaire this weekend, everyone will throw money at you and they'll go broke.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't do that. It's not, it's not what I believe. It's not with integrity. And then through that journey, I came across this thing and I'm like, what do you mean business owners don't look at their financials? Like, how do you go into business and not understand the business of business? And I slowly started to realize, oh, they're not numbers people. They love what they do. And the business is kind of just there. And so I started talking to people. I'm like, is this a market that I could actually build a business in? And they're like, yes. And I'm like, interesting. And so at some point I got tired of my W-2 job and I said, I could do this in a few years or I could do it now. And if I did it in a few years, I'd be really mad that I wasted the years in between. So I quit. I did a 180 pivot and said, this is what I'm going to do. And here we go. And that's kind of how I got here. I finally figured out what skill sets I have, how they match to the market, and the market is willing to pay for and value.
I love that. And you are living the American dream. Good for you.
Well, so, we talk a little bit about American dream, American nightmare. And what I mean by that is I think a lot of people were sold on the wrong dream. Get married, get a house with a white picket fence and a dog and 2 kids, and you'll be happy. I talk to millionaires all the time and they're like, yeah, money doesn't make us happy. Like, sure, it takes away misery, but it doesn't bring the happiness. And so I think part of that is really finding your place and doing what you love doing. Because I know you love what you do, right? You fit in, right? It lights you up. You would do this just for fun. I do this just for fun. And when you can find that place in life, then life is perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Charlene, who has been working with me in my agency for like 26 years, she and I always joke about how we'll be doing PR in wheelchairs in the nursing home. When we're in our 90s, we'll be saying, oh, we'll put out a press release about that. So, Rocky, tell us about your podcast. I've really been enjoying listening to your podcast. So where did that originate?
So I have 2 podcasts, and the first one was kind of more on that personal finance journey and teaching people. What I learned, though, was if your podcast isn't clear in the title and who you serve, it becomes really hard to kind of build that audience. And so when I started dealing with the business owners, I realized I need a podcast that is clear, that a business owner understands what they're going to get. I always talk, and you guys probably talk about this. Your message needs to be clear enough that a 5-year-old can understand it, right?
Right.
So I created the Profit Answer Man podcast, and I'll be honest. And these guys are friends of mine. I stole the name Profit Answer Man from Retirement Answer Man, and Retirement Answer Man stole it from Podcast Answer Man. And they both know that, right? We're all in the same kind of groups. And so they know that. It's like, it's a simple name. It conveys what you do. And so I pretty much, all I do is I teach. I give away everything. There's no secret sauce hidden away. I don't advertise. I don't have advertisers. I just want to teach people how to be profitable. And so literally that's what we do. And then I have guests on who share their expertise as well. But everything that I do with my clients, I teach on the podcast, and it's completely free. And if you can take the information and do it yourself, great, congrats, go do it. What I find is a lot of people go, okay, I get all of that, but that's not my love. Would you please do it for me instead?
Yeah.
And I'll go do what I love. And I'm like, hey, that's cool. and a small percentage of people come to me and do that, and I'm fine with that.
Well, I had read Profit First by Mike Michalowicz before I met you. And then I took your course, and then you did a couple of sessions with me. And yeah, we now have a repeatable system within my agency where we pay ourselves first, and it's a beautiful thing. And my financial planner has even commented that it's making a difference in my long-term plan. So thank you for that, Rocky. You've helped me a lot already.
You are welcome. Yeah, the plan works. And if you just implement it and do it, you will have success over time. It goes back to that same thing we started with. This is not an overnight success plan. It takes time.
Right. And I like the way on your podcast that you compare it to like exercise or eating right, or, just taking care of yourself. It's just a habit. And I see you have the book behind you, Atomic Habits, which I know I have that on my bookshelf as well.
We say that profit is a habit, not an event. And so you've got to make that habit of being profitable.
Yeah. So how has podcasting helped you to build your personal brand and a sales funnel?
So what's cool about the podcast is that people will come spend time with me, and I have no idea who they are, right? They find my podcast. A lot of times they find it because, let's say, I'm on this podcast. And so some of your listeners will go, well, I want to learn more about this. And so they'll show up on my podcast and they'll listen to 20 or 30 episodes or 40 episodes, which means they get to know, like, and trust me. And I'm in their head constantly while they're working out or driving or, doing whatever they're doing. And over time, they're like, this is interesting. And it builds this personal relationship that's kind of weird, because when they come to see me, I have no idea who they are, but they know me. And it's a little weird. And, and I'll be places sometimes and people will be like, I know you. I know that voice.
Right.
And they're like, oh, wow, it's so great. So it builds that kind of intimate type of thing. And it's what I call it's a pull funnel. It's not a push funnel. So normally most funnels are emails that, you get in your email box constantly bombarding you. And you're like, I don't want to read this anymore. I don't want to see this anymore. Right. And they start ignoring it.
Unsubscribe.
This is people who are going, you know what? I want more. And they're opting in, and they choose. And if they get tired of it, they go away. I don't know who they were. I have never pushed on them, but it's always pulling them in if they like my content, and hopefully it's good. And then, at the end of the podcast, I just have a simple phrase, which is, hey, if you want someone to do this for you, here's my link to my calendar. And invariably, people show up on my calendar that I have no idea who they are. And we start a conversation. And I will tell you, so sometimes that conversation does not lead to a client. And that's okay. And that happens a bit. But I've had it where people have showed up and it's led to a 20 to 30-minute phone call where they sign up to be a client. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, right.
That was quick.
Right.
And so it works as a great funnel, and it works as a funnel that I feel good with, because I hate to bug people. I don't want to constantly be doing that. And I don't want to keep creating all this crazy content that doesn't provide value. So it helps me to find the people who find me valuable. And then we've got a great fit.
Well, it's the true sign of a strong personal brand, because a strong personal brand will attract the right people. And it actually also will repel the people that, those people that say, oh, I can read the book, I can do it myself, they won't take up your time. So you have done a really great job through your podcasting and, your speaking engagements and appearing on other podcasts of building a personal brand that is like a magnet. So congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's worked well. And for the people who want to do it themselves, I'm perfectly happy because even if people come and listen and go away and do it themselves, it didn't cost me a minute. It didn't cost me anything extra. And I was able to help somebody that I don't even know. And that's okay. And that's cool too.
Yeah, that's great. So can you tell us, Rocky, more about Profit First?
So Profit First is a book written by Mike Michalowicz. It is a cash flow system designed for the way entrepreneurs think and act. And that's basically what it is. Mike was a serial entrepreneur. He had tremendous success. And then, like many entrepreneurs, he lost all his money to the point where they were coming for the keys to the car and the house. And he's like,
Ugh.
this is not the way it should be. And so he started to say, how do we build a better system? And his first aha was, hey, we've got the wrong equation for profit. So your accountant tells you sales minus expenses equals profit. Profit's a leftover. It's an afterthought. For most entrepreneurs, they don't even know if they're profitable until tax time, where the accountant says, congratulations, you were profitable, and here's how much you owe in taxes. At which point the entrepreneur goes, where is that money?
Exactly.
And how am I supposed to pay that tax bill?
I remember a lot of years saying, oh, we were profitable. It's like, why isn't that money in the checkbook?
Right, exactly. And the accountants laugh and go, hey, you spent it. And then you freak out and you have a lot of anxiety over paying the IRS back. Profit First solves that problem. What it does is it gives every dollar a job and a place to go. And so what Profit First does is, and it's based on the old envelope system. So for those of you who may have gotten some financial education as a kid or talked to your grandparents, they used to get money. And when they got money, they would take their money and they would allocate it. They'd have an envelope for rent. They'd have an envelope for their groceries. They'd have an envelope for utilities. Back when I was a kid, they used to have a Christmas club account where every week you put $5 aside. So when Christmas came, which was no surprise that Christmas was coming, you'd actually have money to pay for the Christmas presents, right? And it's based on that principle, but it's designed for the business owner. So most business owners don't look at their accounting software. They look at their bank balance. Can I spend money? Can I not spend money? And that's what this is designed to do. So basically, all the money comes into one account that we call the income account. And you can look at your income account and go, wow, that's how much money came in. Good. Now I know how much money came in, and it's clear as day. It's real time because as soon as the checks are deposited, you see that. And then on a regular basis, we go into that account and we allocate. The first thing we allocate to is profit. So we take a percentage of our money and we put it in the profit account because your business is supposed to be profitable.
That's the point.
That's the point. Then we take a percentage and we put it into the owner's pay account because a lot of business owners pay themselves last, which is not good. You should pay yourself first. You're the person who took the risk. You're the one doing all the work. You're the one who deserves to get paid first, not last. Then we put money into the tax account so that when tax time comes and the accountant says, here's your tax bill, you go, okay, here you go. I can write you a check. I want to tell you a story. I had one guy who implemented Profit First. He had an agency and his agency did really well one year. I mean, it just was probably double or triple. Well, the tax accountant never kept up with the tax payments throughout the year. So tax time comes and the accountant's not calling him. And this is a dirty little secret in the accounting world. Accountants don't want to tell you you owe taxes. So finally, the accountant calls him and says, I've been dreading calling you. You owe a lot of taxes. He's like, yeah, I know my business was great last year. He's like, how much do I owe? And she was like, it's almost six figures. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yikes.
And he's like, okay, no problem. I'll drop off checks tomorrow. And she was like, I've been doing this for 20 years. And that's not what anyone has ever said to me. They all reacted the way you did.
Right.
They go, yikes. They freak out. They scream at the accountant. But that's the power of the system. Everyone I talk to who uses Profit First, one of the biggest things they tell me is tax time is no longer fearful. It's no longer anxiety. I know that whatever the accountant tells me, we'll cover it. We'll do it. We'll get through this. Even though we all hate paying taxes, they're okay with that. And then what's left goes into our operating expenses. So when you look at your bank account and go, do I have money to spend? It shows you what you have to spend after you've paid yourself, after you've been profitable, and after you made sure that the IRS was covered. So you get a clearer sense of what you truly can spend in your business, and it constrains you from overspending. And that's kind of the big program. So it's something that you sit down and a couple times a month, you just move your money around, and then you go about your life the way you do it. And so you don't have to worry about accounting software. You do what you normally do, which is to look at your bank balance and go, do I have money? Do I not have money?
Yeah, well, it makes it really, I don't know if idiot proof is the word, but it makes it's again, it's a very good system for operating a business. So now, have you met Mike Michalowicz personally?
Yes, I've met Mike a few times. We've been out to his house. Mike is just a wonderful guy. He runs his business in congruence with what Profit First says, and we are truly a Profit First family. So, like if I have a client that has a problem, I can go back to my Profit First family and say, "Hey, has anyone experienced this?" And they'll all help me. And just as like I help them, and Mike is just phenomenal about sharing and giving and providing tremendous, tremendous value. He's truly on a mission to help end entrepreneurial poverty. And he's just a wonderful giving person.
Wow, that's quite a testament. I'd like to meet him myself someday.
He goes to tons of conferences. So one day you should be able to see him somewhere.
Oh, good. I'd love to. Well, we're going to continue with more from Rocky, but now it's time to remind you about how you can get free access to my latest book, which is Grow Your Audience, Grow Your Brand. And you can go to prmaven.com/giveaway and download a free copy today. And Rocky, you might be receiving a copy in the mail after this. So you can download a free copy if you want, but you're going to get a real copy that you can put right behind you on that bookshelf. So we'll be back with more from Rocky Lalvani in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Julene Gervais, host of the television program Greenlight Maine. Nancy Marshall's book, Grow Your Audience, Grow Your Brand, helped our team tremendously develop a loyal following, and it helped us expand with 2 television programs called the Greenlight Maine College Edition and Elevating Voices. Plus, we've picked up 3 Emmy nominations. I highly recommend you read Nancy's book to grow your brand.
Welcome back to the PR Maven Podcast. And I want to give a shout out to my friend Julene Gervais, who made that nice spot for me. And actually her son, Jack, is my production assistant, and he's here with me today. So thanks to the Gervais family. He's shaking his head going, don't talk about me. So today we're talking with Rocky Lalvani on the PR Maven Podcast, which is also available now on Facebook and YouTube. So Rocky, what advantages did partnering with Profit First provide to help you connect with potential clients? Oh, look it. You have my book.
I should have thought of that earlier.
I recognize that book. Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah. So I don't know. Are you familiar with EOS
yes.
traction and all?
Yes.
So
we did that too.
When you talk about EOS and that whole entrepreneurial operating system, what they talk about in Rocket Fuel is that there is the visionary and then there is the integrator and the implementer. And every great business has both of those people. They have the visionary and they have the integrator. I'm an integrator, right?
I'm a visionary.
Exactly. And so together we can do great things. Mike is a visionary. I realized that everything in the Profit First book and the system was already something I was doing in my life. I already knew how to do everything. So I could have built my own system. and I could have created all this material. But I realized two things. Number one, I didn't want to create all that material from scratch. That's too much work for me. And it wasn't something that I would enjoy doing. So I didn't want to do it. And two, Mike is out there on stages. Like, we would have probably never met if it was my brand and not the Profit First brand. So Mike has built a tremendous brand around Profit First that allows me to use all the work he's done to give me authority and connections. And so that has had tremendous value. So like nowadays, when I go to conferences, all I do is I wear a Profit First shirt. And sometimes I'll just walk around with the Profit First book, and people will literally stop me and come up and talk to me because of that. Or when I talk to other podcasters, I'm like, oh yeah, I do Profit First. They're like, oh, we love Profit First. Will you come on our podcast and share it? Had I not had that kind of behind me, it would have cost me 10x the work to be able to build the brand. You know, it's like you go to a hamburger joint. You know, if you see Mike's hamburger joint or Five Guys,
Five Guys,
or,
yeah.
you know, you see
Five-
McDonald's, or you know what you're getting, and people are going to go there because they know they can trust that brand or what they expect out of that brand. And so that's what Profit First did for me. It gave me that brand authority to be able to say, yep, I do this, and this is how I can help you. And that has just saved me, I think, a ton of time and effort. And it's allowed me to stay in my zone, which is the integrator zone. Mike's never going to sit down with you and teach you how to do this. He's going to put you in with people like me.
Right. Well, that's the hallmark of a strong brand too, is having a large community of raving fans or brand ambassadors. And I always talk about the Harley brand and how there's the Hogs, which are the Harley owners group. And those are the guys, you know, that ride their Harleys, or gals that ride their Harleys. And a lot of them have all the clothing, and a lot of them probably have tattoos. And they're so enthusiastic about their Harleys that they carry that brand with them proudly wherever they go. So Mike and basically you and all the other Profit First people have the same kind of a brand community. So good for him, Mike, and good for you as one of his peeps. So you're a brand ambassador, essentially.
Yes. Well, he's kind of the brand ambassador. I just show up and do all the work.
Yeah. But you have benefited from it, as you said.
I have tremendously benefited from it. It's kind of like joining a franchise, but it is a different model. And what's cool is Mike allows us to build our business our way. He doesn't say you have to market this way, or you have to price this way, or you have to do it this way. He's like, take our stuff and make it you.
Yeah.
We just want to make sure it fits within our overall image. And as long as it fits within our overall image, have at it.
Yeah. Well, when you're talking about thinking of it as a franchise, it reminds me of the book, The E-Myth Revisited, which is one of the first business books that I read when I started my business 31 years ago. And essentially, they have you systematize your business, much like the systems of Profit First, but so that you can push responsibilities down to the lower level possible within your organization. And you create operations manuals and procedures so that you imagine that you're going to create a Dunkin' Donuts or McDonald's, and, you know, there's going to be one of your business in every city across the country. And because customers and clients also want to know what to expect from you. And if you have repeatable processes, they know that that gives them more trust and confidence in your business that you'll deliver on the brand promise. So what surprising information did you learn about your clients on LinkedIn, Rocky?
So when I first started out, you know, everyone's like, well, you have to build an email list. Well, you have to get on social media. Well, you have to be here and there. And then as I started to talk to people, they said, well, if you're going to go B2B, you need to be on LinkedIn. So build a LinkedIn presence. And so I went and I built a LinkedIn presence. I did all the things I was supposed to do. I have a very strong profile. I have content that is coming out constantly, that it's just educating people and kind of drawing them back to the podcast and showing them everything. But then when I started to get clients, I started to look at my clients on LinkedIn, and I'm like, my client's not on LinkedIn. Like, maybe they have a profile, but the profile doesn't have a picture. They've never posted anything, and they've got less than 100 connections. And so it's like, very interesting. People tell you you're supposed to do X, but is your client really where they say they are, or are they somewhere else? And I realized my clients are busy business owners. They're head down in their business. They don't have time to play on social media. They don't have time to play on LinkedIn. What they do is they find me through the podcast because they're listening to me when they go to the gym. Like, I got to improve my business. I want to listen to something that I can do while I'm multitasking, doing 6 other things.
Right.
And so even though people say you have to do all these things, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work. And I think it's important to say, where are your clients hanging out? Figure that out and then go there. Don't try and attract people to a place they are not.
Yeah, my expression for that is fish where the fish are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just actually wrote an article on personal branding, and essentially that same thing. And, if you're dealing with elderly people who don't even use computers, then maybe you need to send them something in the mail, on hard copy. Or if you're dealing with young people, maybe you need to make a video on TikTok. So yeah, you need to see where your target audience is and then produce content in that place. So I obviously am also a big advocate for podcasts, and, have really enjoyed the connections that I've made through this podcast myself. And yeah, it's really amazing sometimes when I'll get emails from listeners. I have this one friend, Gary Chalk. He's in Saskatchewan, and he listens to all of my podcasts, and then he'll send me an email with some comments and tell me what he likes and what he doesn't like. And I really appreciate that. So I would never have connected with Gary Chalk in Saskatchewan, Canada, were it not for the podcast.
Well, and I think, there's a certain type of people who listen to podcasts. And so you're attracting that type of an audience.
Right.
And it's just kind of natural to that. I mean, podcasts mostly started on the Apple platform, and people who buy Apple products tend to be certain kinds of people. And then those within that group who kind of listen to this podcast app. Today it's growing and it's changing, and the world of podcasting is dramatically shifting again. But those early adapters and those early people were a certain kind of people. And they're my kind of people because I listen to a million podcasts. So
yeah,
they're
too.
like me.
Yeah.
And so you're finding the people who are like you, who connect with you, who you've already got those types of conversations going with. And so from that standpoint, it's really, really good.
Yeah. So Rocky, you have an online course, and how has that helped you to attract clients and people into your network?
So part of the reason that I built the course wasn't so much to attract clients. What it was is there's a subset of people who need help. They're kind of beyond the I read the book and I can do it. They're beyond the do-it-yourselfer. They want a little bit more, and they want a little bit of hand-holding, but maybe they don't want the full-blown packages that I offer. So it offers people the opportunity to get help at considerably less than what it would cost to be one-on-one with me. And so from that standpoint, it's kind of almost like somewhat of a give back that you can help people who couldn't maybe afford my services or weren't ready for my services. So it kind of fills a hole in the market that is truly underserved today. I think there's very little out there for business owners to understand the finance side of business that's in a way that they understand and that they can relate to. And so the whole purpose of the course was to take the book, but take it kind of to the next level. And you can actually go take Mike has his own 3-day course, which is very similar to my book. To my course. The difference is you've got to fly somebody somewhere and you've got to take 3 days out of your schedule to do it, which becomes expensive. And then on top of that, you got to pay for the course. So this allows people to kind of work at their own pace to get that high level information. And it's kind of a stepping stone. And it does include help. Like, the one you signed up for included time with me so that you take the course. We answer all your questions in the course, but then we dig into you personally and we help make sure that you're on a strong footing and that you're doing everything correctly. What was your experience?
Well, I remember I did the course over Memorial Day weekend. So that would have been in May of 2021. And then you and I had a call. And yeah, that's where all the concepts really got cemented for me, as was when it was personalized. But definitely I enjoyed the course because it's not advanced finance or anything. It's pretty basic. So it was really right at my level.
And the reality is most business owners are at the basic level when it comes to this. And I think this is why they struggle with their accountants, because they're having conversations that they don't understand each other. They're using a different language. And sometimes, people don't realize this. There's a lot of emotions that go along with money. And there's a lot of what we call money scripts that go along with money. And if you think about it, right, most people go, math is hard. So then they kind of shy away from it. Most people are taught that talking about money is taboo, or maybe you're taught rich people are evil. Well, you're never going to get wealthy if you think rich people are evil.
Right. Yeah.
Because you don't want to be evil.
Right.
And so there's a lot of emotions that go on, and that we try to cross that bridge between the emotions and the basic financials that you really need to do. And I tried to put a lot of emotions into a lot of the pictures that we had in the course to kind of bridge that gap and make it simple for people to be able to implement the system and know how to do it without having to get a ton of numbers. Like, we make it really, really simple to implement.
Yeah, I appreciated that because I'm a busy person and I've got a lot going on. So Rocky, is there a book, an app, or a website that has helped you personally and professionally, and why?
There is. So there is a book that I love to recommend. It's this one, The Road Less Stupid, Advice from the Chairman of the Board. And this is Keith Cunningham's book. And I love this because it's about thinking about your business and working on your business. And literally every chapter ends with the same thing, which is now go think. And he gives you a tremendous amount of questions to think about within your business. And he wants to help you prevent mistakes, because mistakes are the biggest problem that we all deal with. And I'm just going to read you literally the first couple lines from this book because I think it's so impactful. Smart people do dumb things. Here's the proof. How much money would you have right now if I gave you the ability to unwind any 3 financial decisions you have ever made? And when I answer that question, it's millions of dollars. Look at you. You let it out.
I
know. That's literally the opening of the book. I mean, you imagine how much more information's there. I've never met Keith, but the book helps people.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
To do smart things. It helps you to think about your business. It helps you to think about your employees, and it gives you actionable advice that you can do from somebody who's made a lot of mistakes. And you get a choice. You can either learn from your mistakes or you can learn from somebody else's. I prefer to learn from somebody else's mistakes.
And that's a great title too.
It is. It's catchy, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. It's
And so
great.
that's what I did on LinkedIn. What I do is I go through every chapter of the book and I share a nugget from it on LinkedIn. So I'm constantly telling people and teaching them from there too.
That's awesome. And yeah, when you teach like that, you learn more yourself. So good for you. So Rocky, if people want to get in touch with you, what is the best way?
So my website is Profit Comes First. And if you go to Profit Comes First, there's a bunch of offers on there that if you want to check out the book, we'll give you 2 free chapters of the book. If you want to listen to the podcast, you can link to it from there. It's called Profit Answer Man. And I teach everything on there, or find me on LinkedIn or on any other social media. Literally, if you Google my name, I will show up. It'll be me down the entire page.
Yeah. Yeah. You're probably the only Rocky Lalvani who's out there.
It helps.
Yeah. It's not like Joe Smith or Sue
Correct.
Jones. Well, Rocky, this has been a lot of fun. I really love your enthusiasm for what you do. I haven't met you yet in person, but I know that when we do, we're going to have a great time together. And I look forward to that day.
As do I. Can I ask your audience to do a favor, though?
Sure.
So if you like this show and you enjoy listening to Nancy, would you do her a favor? If you're on YouTube, give a thumbs up. If you're on a podcast platform, just leave her a rating and a review. We all have to play these games to get noticed on social media. And it really, really helps. And it also tells Nancy that she's doing a good job. So she'll keep showing up week after week.
Thank you, Rocky. That's very nice. If you do that,
that's
you.
Awesome.
You're welcome. It. Thank you. Okay. Well, thanks for joining us, PR Maven Nation. And I look forward to talking to you again next week. And thank you, Rocky. Thanks for listening to this episode of the PR Maven Podcast. I invite you to share a review of the podcast on iTunes or your favorite podcast player. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. You can also join the PR Maven Nation on Facebook. It's free to join, and it's a great community of like-minded individuals who are all looking to learn and grow from one another. If you use an Alexa device, use your Alexa app to search the skills and games section to find and enable the PR Maven Podcast Flash Briefing. This will give you access to exclusive content and more PR and marketing advice. Thanks again for listening and have a great rest of your week, PR Maven Nation.